just want to say you guys are all in for a treat, and I mean that literally because he actually brought some chocolate, and it's the best chocolate on the planet too, I'll tell you that. You cannot eat too much of it. So I'm going to start off introducing PJ Glassy. He's received his degree in exercise science from Seattle Pacific University in 1989. Right out of school, he began personal training and grew his business successfully for 11 years by training clients in their homes, as well as in local area gyms. With his clients' help, as test subjects, PJ invented and refined his own multi-protocol concept called xgym. PJ has been a guest expert on TV, a keynote speaker, a talk show host on KKOL and KBI Radio, and published local and national media articles as well as 2 books on health and fitness. He has designed and produced a workout DVD called xgym Workout Protocol No. 1. So please give a hearty rotary welcome to PJ Glassy.
This is fitness chocolate. And the reason I call it fitness chocolate is because it's actually good for you. It's my own formulation that I've been working on for the last 4 years. I perfected it about a year ago. And so I want you to also know about this website. This is the xgym recipe page. And so if you go to hardbodycafe.com or just go to xgym.com, click recipes, it'll take you straight here. You can make this at home. So I've made the recipe open source so people can make this for themselves. And so here's, if you have any food allergies or sensitivities, here's all of the ingredients right here. But this is what you'd see when you go to this, so you can make it at home. So I'm going to pass this around. And it's the reason that it's in a cooler is because the main ingredient is coconut oil, which melts at 75 degrees. So it kind of has to stay cold. So remember that when you take a piece, if you hold it in your hand, it will melt in your hand and in your mouth. But just so you know, so I'm also giving out napkins. Is it anybody's birthday today, perchance? How about last week? Saturday. See, I knew that, and that's why I brought these for Tony's birthday. So take a napkin. Here's the tongs, because in every crowd there's always at least one microphone. And if you don't use tongs, they're not going to eat any. Just pass this around the tables. Take a piece if you want. What I want to talk about today is it's just basically give you a takeaway. And today I want to talk about a technique that's a brain training technique. And we use these techniques at the xgym because even though we have the best exercise methods and it takes the least amount of time and all that kind of stuff, it's not enough. The best exercise methods in the world by themselves aren't enough. Because if the body changes with really great methods, but the brain doesn't, you're going to yo-yo. And that's the reason for the yo-yo. That's why people lose weight and gain weight over and over and over all the time, because their brain doesn't change. And so we have these brain training methods to help people out. We call it rewiring the brain. We've got about 30 different methods. This is just one of them. But it's a really easy one to learn. And it's one you can take with you today and to use on your own. So I'm going to show you how to do it. This is called heart rate variability training. Your heart rate is variable, and it should be. The more variable, the better. So a really steady heart rate with the exact same amount of time between the beats isn't actually a good thing. It's better to have variable time between the beats. If you have variability between the beats, that means that your brain and your heart are talking to each other, and that's a really good thing. And it's a really healthy thing. Because the brain and the heart have to work together. And it's healthiest when they do. And the heart actually has its own complex nervous system. They call it the heart brain. And the heart sends more information up to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So the heart does more talking to the brain than the brain does to the heart. The heart's kind of like the woman in the relationship. And the brain's kind of like the man. So that's a good thing, because the information that the heart is sending to the brain is really healthy information. The heart also sends specific messages to the brain involved in higher intellectual thoughts like strategic thinking, reaction time, self-regulation, reticular activating system, that kind of stuff, which is super healthy and really good for you. And so we have to have this communication back and forth. And when the heart rate is not variable, that means we're stressed out. That's not a good thing. Stress kills. And so when we're stressed out, the brain essentially has stopped listening to the heart. It shut it down. It says, nope, just beat, just beat, just beat, just beat. And it's sending very few pieces of information to the heart, mainly just to keep beating. And it's not listening to the messages back from the heart. And so it's not getting the healthy messages from the heart. Here's a chart that shows you different states that we get in. So we all know about the fight or flight or freeze state, and that's where adrenaline is the highest neurotransmitter. Then we've got over here to the left, the DHEA, love, passion, empathy, appreciation, contentment, those kinds of feelings, when we're in a really great mood. We've got over here cortisol, where we're overwhelmed, we're stressed, anger, things like that. Cortisol is great for short-term stuff to get us out of bad situations, but for longer than seconds, it's not a good thing because it breaks you down. And then down here we got the acetylcholine for where we're relaxed, repairing. And so when we're over to the left, whether we're in adrenaline state or relaxed acetylcholine state, we still want to be over to the left. Because when we're over on the left side of this, our heart rate is variable. Whether we're exercising, whether we're excited, whether we're chilling on the beach, if we're in a great mood, heart rate is variable. If we're in a crummy mood or we're stressed out, heart rate is mechanical because the brain is only talking to the heart and not listening back from the heart. So it looks like this. When we're over on the left side, it's really rhythmic, except there is nice space, variable space, between the beats. Over on the right, it's erratic, it's up and down a lot, we're stressed out, and even though you can't really tell on here, the space between the beats is quite uniform, and that's destroying our health. This is helping and contributing to increased health. So, how do you get to that point? Well, 5 easy steps. It's really that easy. First thing, and I'm just going to walk you through these first, and then we're going to try it, so you'll have gone through it. First step is just to find your pulse. Some people find it on the wrist, some people find it on the neck, I find it easiest here. Some people can just feel it. Just feel it in your chest. You don't even need to find it anywhere. So after you find your pulse, you breathe in, inhale, to 4 of your own heartbeats. So if you're excited or you just worked out or whatever, those are going to be pretty fast and it's not going to take very long. So it's going to be a relatively fast-ish kind of inhale. Doesn't matter, you're just breathing in to 4 beats. Then you hold your lungs for 4 beats. So full lungs, hold your breath for 4 beats. Then you exhale for 4 beats. So it takes you 4 beats to exhale that air. And then you hold empty lungs for 4 beats. That's all you do. You just repeat. Keep doing that. And then as your heart rate variability increases, your PFC, the front part of your brain, opens up, more willpower is available, you make better decisions with less effort, and your resistance to emotional eating skyrockets. And that's the main reason for this technique that I teach to the xgym members, is to cut down instance of emotional eating. But this is also great for just getting yourself out of a crummy state. The more you do this, the easier it gets. The more effective it becomes, the faster it works. And the reason for that is because your brain is literally being rewired to do this. It's learning how to do it to get out of your state faster. So when you go back to this chart here, what's happening is this technique is getting you from over here to about here. So it's basically giving you hope. And then getting over here is the rest of your job of, thinking gratitude and thoughts like that, which is a lot easier once you're here. Because when you're over here, it's really hard to do. and you kind of trapped. And when you're over here, your brain is hijacked. It's literally hijacked. And you're gonna make crummy decisions. If you're an emotional leader, that's when it's gonna happen. But you get just to here, now boom, you're fine. You're not gonna emotionally eat, it fixes the problem. Getting to here is even better. But this technique will at least get you to there. And it happens really fast. So let's do it. Find your pulse. Now breathe in to 4 beats. Nice full lungs. Now hold your full lungs, hold your breath. That's about 4 beats. Now you're going to exhale slowly to 4 beats. Controlled exhale. Now keep empty lungs for 4 beats. And inhale again to 4. So it's square breathing, 4 beats. Hold for 4. Exhale to 4. Relax for 4. Keep doing this while I'm talking. And what you'll notice is with every cycle, your heart rate actually slows down a little bit because you're starting to relax. So that 4 beats is getting longer. But it's just as easy to hold your breath because you're more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, it's easier to hold your breath, either full lungs or empty lungs. And so you'll notice it change really fast. That's your state changing your state. So it's great to combat emotional eating. It's great to just get out of a bad mood. If you're making really bad decisions because you're in a bad mood, here's the remedy. So it's a super useful, and it's really easy to remember too. It's just square breathing. In 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. In 4, hold 4, exhale 4, just hold 4. Going by your, so it's biofeedback too. Now, it's, the important thing about finding your pulse and listening to your pulse is the second you get your pulse and you're listening, that's your brain listening to your heart. So you were just stressed out in a really crummy state. Now you're changing your state. You're coming into a better state, and your brain is listening to your heart, and you're becoming more healthy because your brain is hearing what your heart is saying. And that is actually more important than your heart hearing what your brain is saying. So any questions on that or brain training techniques? That's just one of about 30 that we have. Yeah.
Just curious about the science behind this.
So they recently discovered heart rate variability. They always knew it existed, but they didn't know why. So the recent discovery was, it's that the communication is two-way between the heart and the brain. And now we know that when the heart rate is not variable, the brain's not listening to the heart anymore. So the recent discoveries is the specific type of nerve bundles that exist in the heart that are like brain neurons and hooked together like brain neurons. And the communication was a surprise when they discovered that the communication between the heart and the brain was more from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. And then they started tying this together, and they found that like the yogis and the Buddhist monks and the people that are really good at meditation are also really good at making their heart rate variable and really good at getting into awesome states, good moods and things. So they said, well, experimenting with other techniques, knowing how the brain works, the heart works, neurons work, they came up with an easier technique than living in a monastery for 50 years to get really good at it, and this is the shortcut.
You figure out how to eat chocolate and do that at the same time?
I do.
So I've been exposed to the 4-count breathing thing, but it wasn't with the holding. So what is the difference maybe between those two concepts?
I'm glad you asked that because you'll see other people teaching heart rate variability training with other breathing patterns, and those work just as well. So there's variations, but it's the control and it's the mental focus on the breathing and it's the pattern that causes the increase in heart rate variability.
So it's just the fact that you're thinking about it is what is engaging in that process.
Bingo. Yep. And you're connecting your heart to your brain, which is the main benefit of this technique, because when you're disconnected, because the brain's stressed out and it's not listening to the heart anymore, it's a really unhealthy state. And it's causing lots of problems and disease and breakdown and lots of things that you need to stop as soon as you possibly can. This is a shortcut, quick way to do that.
What about people with pacemakers?
It still works. So as they do this training, their heart rate isn't going to change as much because their pacemaker is going to keep them in a certain zone. It still will change, but not as much, depending on how their pacemaker is adjusted as well. But it's still going to work, and it's still going to put their brain in contact and in touch with their heart, and that's the most important part.
The brain and the heart connection and the brain cells around the heart, where did that research come from? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, if you email me, I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but I can email you back some info on that guy that came up with it, and then another guy that's run with it. Dr. Tony, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I have stacks of heart rate variability research in my office.
Yeah.
Because it is, to date, I still have not read research to say otherwise. Heart rate variability is the #1 predictor for chronic disease, whether or not you're going to get it or not.
Right. Because when your heart rate is not variable, and you've got this chronic stress like we do, especially in this country, in most industrialized nations, where we go to work and it's just fight or flight all day long, that's what kills us. And this is the way to get out of it.
Thank you so much. Where do we find that chocolate recipe here?
Well, there's two ways to get to it. You just go straight to hardbodcafe.com, or just go to xgym.com. You'll see a recipes link at the top of the page, which takes you to hardbodcafe.com. Either way, it'll get you there. And then, yeah, start making it at home, because literally, the more you eat, the healthier you get. And this is a weight loss food, not a weight gain food. So people are all scared of chocolate. Oh, it's going to make me fat. This won't. It's just the opposite of that. And as you can taste, it tastes good too. So, start making it.
Great Franco, yeah.